Okay, I'm a fantasy author, and I just think it would be great if I talked about the tropes that I can't stand in fantasy books. The things that make me go, yeah, like within 2 to 3 seconds, I want to put this down. Like, I like to give every story a chance, so rarely do I ever do that. I'm going to read through it quite a bit, and I would encourage you to at least give stuff a shot. But there are some things, as soon as I see them, I'm just like, no, like, I really don't want to get into it. Here they are. See if you agree with them, and if you're on the same page as me. Number one, the inexplicable power up or glow up. Okay, I want to see the process. What I like to see is how did they get there? If it's sudden and immediate, defying logic, I want to know why. Why did that take place? Why did that happen? You know, Mary Sue's who suddenly can fight anime schoolboys who inexplicably are kicking the hides of full-grown adults with bulging muscles and rogues, or like the rogue is suddenly sophisticated, or plain people are suddenly beautiful, and like what happened? Like, how did this occur? Like, it just really irritates me when I watch a show or I read a book and without explanation, somebody that doesn't make any sense for them to have that power or that ability or that whatever just suddenly has it. I want to see what happens from A to B that gets them there. No, I do not accept your premise that person who is 5 feet and 90 pounds is suddenly tossing elephants around a room. I don't accept that premise. I'm not going to believe it. Which leads me number two, the tiny master. So animes, cartoons, they've really done this one up. Classically, it's the old kung fu master or genius or the great, whatever. He's really small and think like Kung Fu Panda, where you have Master Sifu, an animal that's 2 feet tall, and he could throw an elephant around or something. It doesn't make sense to me. I mean, the real world, that does not happen. In the real world, you cannot expect to be 4'9" and weigh 80 pounds and go into a situation with somebody who weighs 300 pounds and they're 6'8" and expect that you can just no amount of training or skill is going to get you there. That is outrageously unreasonable. And part of the reason I hate it is just because what I think it does to the psychology of people that read it. I know it's fantasy and most people know it's fantasy, but I think it kind of slips in that you just feel like you're invincible. As long as I have the right skill or right mindset, I can walk down the road at 2 a.m. in the middle of Chicago and I'll be fine. No, you are not. You need to go inside and be safe. Just stop that. I get it's fantasy and people identify with them and they live out that fantasy, but it has zero realism. I just think it's convinced people that they're stronger than they really are and they can do things that they really can't. You're not a one man or one woman army. I see how many people might enjoy this, especially when you live life as like the little man or like you feel like you're intimidated. But how about you think about realistic ways that you can exert yourself and control your environment, not outrageously unrealistic ways. All right, number three, fight fire with fire. And I think people like this one because they really like this one in our modern day and age because they see the conflict of people like politically and socially, and they feel like they're powerless and they want to get back. And if you can just adopt the powers of the enemy, like how many times do you read a story where the enemy has this superpower, that they're holding over you, and all of a sudden, oh, but what if I get that superpower? Now I have it. Now I'm the monster inside, and then I can take that monster and turn it on the monsters and fight fire with fire. And okay, here's my problem with that. It's basically fighting evil with evil for the sake of good is what I'm talking about, okay? Obviously, if upgrading technology or upgrading a skill, that's not the same thing. But when you are adopting evil or corruption in order to fight evil, that leads to problems. It means that evil and corruption end up winning. That's what that means. And I'm not talking about mechanical things. I'm not talking about, if somebody pushes you, you don't push back. I mean, sometimes you have to do that. Society has to control evil. There's going to be people that are going to misunderstand me. They don't get what I'm saying. Think like this darkness or this corruption or this black magic that somebody has, and then the evil enemy has, and then all of a sudden the hero just gets that and they incorporate it in themselves, and now they're the monster that can fight the monster. And it's just, that's the problem, is they've been corrupted. They're now evil. In the reality, what does that do to them? And when they win, that evil is what ends up winning. I have a problem with that because it teaches us that we need to become evil in order to be evil. And no, evil, that's not how good wins. Good righteousness wins by creating purity and systems where people can be pure and an environment where people can maintain their righteousness and not be tempted. You do not win by adopting evil to win. By becoming evil, you just give evil a different form. Number four, shoehorning of evil traits, evil acts, lack of discipline, or other characteristics or other lack of moral character into a person that has a moral position or into a moral position somehow, right? Basically take the evil and sandwich it between the good things and sell it as good. That's what you're doing. Like a story about associating life and color with promiscuity and recklessness, or apathy with goodness, or associating total disregard for life as somehow moral, like that's good and courageous somehow. Like basically the anti-hero becomes the full-on villain, and you're basically tricked, or the author's trying to trick you into rooting for the villain. No, I don't accept that. It's absolutely worthless. I do not like that story, obviously for the same reasons, the consequences on society. Number 5, simple misunderstandings that break relationships apart, really important ones. Now, obviously, this mimics reality to a certain extent, because people do break down like marriages, romances, friendships over really stupid stuff and misunderstandings, where they just would have come together and talked it out, and somebody would have just had the guts to do that, then it would have been fine. You know, how many times do friendships fall apart because one person's like, hey, I'd still like to talk with you, and the other one's just like, no, just forget about them. I don't need them anymore. And then, it could have been worked out. It could have been a great relationship. That does happen, but those stakes are a lot lower than what you see in the movies and the fantasies and the books and stuff like that, where we're in a group. We're together, we're at the final hurdle, and we're here to take down the bad guy before he eradicates all human life. Let's just get into a fight over some stupid relationship thing. Who does that? Like, who in reality does that? Like, I get it. Maybe you're trying to make situation mimic something stronger so that people can see how pointless this is and just grow up and mature. But I hate reading it. I don't want to read that crap. I don't want to watch that crap. If you get to that, if it's that important where people's lives are on the line, and you get to a point where you're just over your stupid, petty, emotional selfishness, you're going to break apart the winning formula. No, the mission comes first. I don't know who thinks that way, and there probably are people that would do that, but I really, really hope they're in the small minority. And honestly, I don't want to read about them. I really don't. I don't enjoy it. I don't care for it. Just listen. For the love of God, just take a second to listen to what somebody's saying and just work it out. Like this, the lack of basic human skills, especially in a story where normally the character has been great at relationship skills, and their soft skills are wonderful all the way up until like this moment. Now, inexplicably, we're gonna have some stupid fight. Could be over a ham sandwich. I don't know. It's like, just shut up. Just get on with it. I don't want to read that crap. It's just absolutely worthless. All right. At least, I'm gonna put it down. Okay. All right. My last two have to do with basically, I'm gonna call it reverse matching. And some of the ones that I hate the most are where we take the priest and make him a drunk, take the drunkard and make him like, super spiritual. It's like, okay, I get what you're trying to do. You're trying to mix up characters to keep us on our toes, or just trying to get us to break down our senses of trust. And sometimes those are good. Offices aren't necessarily good just because they're offices, But seriously, if somebody's a drunk and they struggle with alcoholism, what are the chances they're going to have it all together spiritually? I don't know, not very good. I mean, they can have some insightful things to say. And I have definitely found that. Like, people can be wise no matter what. But wisdom, isn't the same as being the hero and spiritually grounded. You shouldn't be encouraging that kind of perception. Let's just say you have some big, strong guys who are serious. They're mission-minded. Maybe they're in a place, they could be in a workplace, but maybe they're soldiers, is very common. And they're just freaking out and geeking out over the smallest emotional things. And they're overexcited, and they're, all over the place. And I'm just like, really? Like, who does this? Like, I don't know anybody that does this. If they do, it's going to be nerding out on something that guys nerd out on, but it's not going to mean anything. They're not going to get mad and emotional and offended really easy. And so I think anime's made this a big thing because anime loves to be expressive and explosive and like to do this everywhere. And on the opposite end, you can have a delicate young lady who is cold and heartless, and she doesn't talk to people, and she doesn't move, and everything is calculated and perceptive, and she's just a brick wall. And you're just like, really? Like, I wouldn't even want to know this person, much less watch or read them. Like, it's absolutely ridiculous. Now, granted, some of these things are story mechanics that help you as a reader. Maybe you identify with some of this stuff. You identify with something in here. Like, maybe you feel cold and isolated, mechanical, and you want someone to reach out to you. And, I don't know, the story's playing on those things in order to try and pull you out. The tropes themselves, like, I just get tired of. I can't stand seeing those things. Those are the new modern tropes. A lot of them are older tropes. I can't stand. You probably expected me to throw out all the basic ones that everybody throws out, like the chosen one and good versus evil. And like, I don't, you know what? I mean, those are all story mechanics that I don't really care to bash on, because some of them can be good or bad, depending. I think the idea of tropes in general is that it's been overplayed, and that most people, they just don't like seeing it because it's getting old, right? For me, what I don't like about tropes, because I don't mind seeing a story mechanic over and over and over again that's done to a good intention or purpose. What I don't like is something I've seen over and over again, and it's having a harmful effect on others, or it's destructive, or it's just demeaning, or it's just short-horning a story mechanic in order to make up for a lack of plot, stuff like that, right? Those are the things I kind of get upset about. But anyway, I don't know if you agree with my list. You can give me your list. You can tell me what you disagree with, agree with. If you give me a suggestion that I haven't thought of, I will probably do a video on it, and I'll reply to you, and we can keep that going. You give me your list, tell me what you think, but that's mine as a story writer. And honestly, if you look at my stories, hopefully you won't see any of those. Or if you do, it's going to be in such a way that I'm not glorifying it, or I'm not making it out to be something good. That's all I can say.